Hey folks, welcome to our next exit. Well, it's July the 2nd, and that means that we're a couple days late, but we're putting out our expenses for June of 2019 in this video. As most of you know, we live full-time in our Class A motorhome, and we travel the country and generally stay in Thousand Trails campgrounds. And every month we put out a video showing what we spent that month. We put all of our expenses in here with two exceptions. We do not add in anything for, we have all of our furniture stored in storage units in Las Vegas. It cost us $3,500 a year. That's not in here. And then any money that we give away to charity or kids or gifts or any of that, that's not in here. But every other penny that we spend, you'll see in this spreadsheet. If you don't know about Thousand Trails, I'll put a link up here, and I'll put one at the end of the video, and you can watch that and kind of see how Thousand Trails works. But basically, it's a membership park. We bought a used membership for $4,000, and we can stay in any of the Thousand Trails campgrounds for free all year long, 365 days a year if we want to, and it costs us $615. We also have a Trails collection add-on to that. Costs us $200 a year. That gives us another couple hundred parks. And then RPI campgrounds, we can stay in those for $10 a night, and there's, I think, a couple hundred of those scattered around the country, and that costs us $150 a year. So that's generally where we stay. Sometimes when we save up a little bit of money, we'll go stay in a real nice resort like on the ocean beach or something, and splurge a little bit, but generally we camp for free. In this spreadsheet, you'll see this column here will be all of the expenses we spent in June for each of these line items. This column here will be the total of the last 12 months, so that'd be July of 2018 until June of 2019. And then we divide that number by 12 and give you a monthly average for the last year. And then this column, we've been doing this for 25 months, so it will take the last 25 months and then divide it, totals divided by 25, and give you a monthly average since we started full-time, which was in June of 2017. Two other quick things. A couple of the biggest expenses is diesel cost and camping fees. This gives us our monthly average for fuel cost. Only diesel, not our gasoline in the car. That's down under automotive. And this gives us our monthly average for the last 12 months, and this is our monthly average for the 25 months. And then with campsite fees, same thing. The last 12 months, our average nightly cost for campsite fees, and average nightly cost for the last 25 months for campsite fees. So that kind of explains the spreadsheet. It kind of explains the lifestyle. Let's kind of jump into the numbers. We drove 306 miles in June. We started out down in Klamath River. We left on June the 1st from there, so we had one night, or we left on June the 2nd. We had one night in the Klamath River, and then we drove up to South Jetty, spent I think 3 weeks, and then we're here at Pacific City for a couple of weeks. So that means we moved twice from Klamath to South Jetty and then South Jetty to Pacific City. We spent 29 days in Thousand Trails. That was all free. We spent one night in Klamath River for the 30 nights in June. We spent $363 on diesel fuel, and that was, we were bone dry empty because gas was like $4.50, diesel was $4.50 in California, and it dropped down to like $3.30 once we hit Oregon. So we got in here bone dry. We got a full tank now. We spent $82 on camping, and that was our dues for Thousand Trails and Trails collection. That's $615 for Thousand Trails and $200 for Trails collection. So $815, we divide that by 12, and then we just budget $68 a month for those two memberships. And then the $14 a night we paid for Klamath River, the RPI campground. That's $10 for the campground, and as I mentioned, some of them charge a $4 resort fee. So that gives us, this month we spent $12 a day on fuel, averaged $273 on camping. For the last 12 months, we've spent averaged $11.84 a day on diesel and $11.36. And the reason those are higher, or at least the camping, is in Key West. We spent like $1,500 for 7 or 8 days down there. It was $160 a night, and then there's a couple of nights that were $102. So that jacked up. And then we up in Bar Harbor in Maine, we're staying at some $104 a night campground. But since we've been doing this, our campgrounds have averaged $8.83 and fuel $12.15. So fuel is roughly costing us about $12 a day, and then campgrounds $9 or $10. We average right here for the last 12 months 700 miles a month, and since we started we averaged almost 800 miles a month, if you see how that works. Same thing with diesel fuel. For the last 12 months spent $4,300 on diesel fuel. We average about $350 a month, pretty much since we started. In campgrounds, last 12 months we spent $4,100, and we average $350 this year and $260, $270 last year, a monthly average. So you kind of see how this spreadsheet works. Motorhome repairs, we had to re-register the RV this month, so that was $660. We bought a Safety Plus. We watched on Chuck and Cheryl's videos. They put in the Safety Plus on their RV, and it's basically like a big strong shark absorber that goes on your tie rods. And the number one thing is to keep you going down the road straight, but like if the safety part of it is if you had a blowout and it wants to, all of a sudden turn and run off the road, it slows that down. It keeps you more stable. I haven't installed it yet, but we've purchased it. It was $432. I can't put it on until we get our front end aligned. Our steering wheel's about an inch off center from the roads back east. Those roads are rough, and we haven't got a front end alignment since we got back here. But we need to do that the next month and then put on our Safety Plus. And then we got us one of these Viair air compressors. It's real crucial to keep your tire pressures up, and our two steer tires, 115 is where we keep those, 115 psi, and we can't hardly do that with our own board compressor. So we finally broke down and bought one of these Viair compressors. And then our dash cam busted a couple of weeks ago. We got us a new dash cam. Automotive, $138 for gas and $10 for a car wash. We've been doing quite a bit our kids live here in Oregon, and so we're doing quite a bit of driving over to Eugene and just driving around the different parts of the area more than we normally do. And so that's what that is. RV, okay, our insurance, our RV full-timers insurance on our RV is $14.59. We just got the renewal notice, and that's going up $100 this year, I think, to 15 something. But for the last 12 months, it's been $14.59. The car insurance is $850. We have $1 million umbrella policy, $277. So we add all those numbers up, we divide it by 12, and we budget in that much each month. But we're going to have a couple of $100 increase, it looks like, going forward. Groceries, that is $1,100. We used to run, it seemed like around $800, and as you can see, we've kind of been coming up. Well, there was 1,000 back then, but we have a lot of lower ones. And a couple of things. I started my Social Security in January, and that was kind of a pop to our income. I waited till I was 70 to start my Social Security, and we was pulling out of savings. And it appears, in looking at some graphs and stuff, that our groceries expenses has gone up since then. We've got a little more money, so we spend a little more money. Another thing to note on here on groceries is everything we spend in the grocery store comes into this line item, so that's groceries. But it's also liquor. We probably spend $150 a month on liquor, wine and beer, whiskey, whatnot. And cleaning supplies, paper towels, anything that we buy in the grocery store goes in here. I don't mess with trying to sort it all out, unless, you know, like we buy groceries at Walmart and I buy something that's for the coach or something, I take that out. But anything that goes inside the house for just household survival stuff goes in here. If we buy dog food in a grocery store, it'll go in here. So that's not by any means food. That's food plus everything else. And it's been going up. Seemed like a really high number. For the 25 months, it's $8.89 is the average. This year is $9.50, so it's gone up $50 or $60 a month, it looks like. Dining out, $2.23, and that's a little bit under our average. We've had a number of people over to the coach and had dinners and meals. We had a real great dinner the other day with a gentleman that I got a letter from him a year or so ago. He was in Kuwait, and his wife was home trying to sell their house, and she got it sold. And he was looking from Kuwait, shopping for RVs, and was just wanting to, had some questions about RVs. Well, anyway, since he's been back, he's retired now from the military. They drove over. They're staying in a different campground, but they drove over a couple of days ago, brought a rum cake and Pearl and Carolyn, his wife. I think Mike and Carolyn, their name. They cooked a stew up in the Instant Pot, and we just had a great visit. But anyway, we've had a number of those dinners with different subscribers, and so we hadn't gone out as much. Internet and cell phone. We have a Verizon Jetpack, and we have Verizon Jetpack and 2 cell phones, so we get 15 gigabytes of high-speed internet on those each month. And we have an unlimited Verizon Jetpack that we get unlimited high-speed internet. Here at Pacific City, there's no Verizon signal, so we're getting no internet. I have to load up after I do this video and drive to town and try to find a Verizon signal. But anyway, that's our internet. We pay $150 for the Jetpack and the 2 cell phones a month, and then $65 for the unlimited plan. So that's our monthly internet expense. DirecTV is $67 a month. Medical, we pay $135 each for our Medicare Part B. We pay $30 each for a total of $60 for our Part D, our prescription drugs. And we have a Part G Medigap insurance. Pearl's is $115, mine's $122. And then Pearl's she had to have her thyroid removed, and she has to have that medication. She went to get her prescription refilled in South Chatty down in Southern Oregon, and it was at the last refill. She couldn't have it refilled. And we looked on, if you see, we've got a video about how to find doctors. It's ZocDoc, and we just got on there, figured she'd go in and get a checkup. She called her doctor, and he wouldn't renew it because he was back in Florida. He said, no, you need to get somebody over there. We couldn't find anybody, so we ended up going to an emergency clinic, those urgent care places. Got a doctor there. He was real nice. I don't know what it's going to cost yet. He said you'll get a bill in a month or two. They took Medicare and our Part G, but we don't know. That could be a few $100s, or it could be nothing. But the drugs was like $40 for a 3-month supply. But we don't know what that's going to cost. But at least it worked. If you run into that situation, urgent care, you can go there and get a doctor and maybe get your prescription. So we're going to spend the winter in Yuma, and I'm thinking we probably go over to Mexico and buy like a year's supply over there, is the thought. We have to do some research on that, but that's kind of the plan. And probably find our doctor in Arizona somewhere. Also, pet care, nothing. Tinker really does need a grooming, but we haven't found anybody, so 0 there. Recreation and hobbies. Oh, the sea caves in Florence, that was really neat. It's $26. And then we bought a little placard that we both really liked in a tourist thing. We usually don't buy things like that, but it's a piece of wood that's written on it, together, and it says, together is our favorite place to be. And for us, since we travel so much, that really hit home. That's when we're the happiest, and when we're together, no matter if it's up in Maine or down in Florida or Texas, as long as we're together, it works. Microsoft Office. I've got Microsoft on I have 2 laptops, and one of them's been busted, but still kind of works. I've got Microsoft on that, but on this one I didn't buy it. It's several $100, and so I'm spending $70 a year for their annual thing. Every year I say I'm going to go ahead and just buy it and bite the bullet, but I just keep renewing it. So that's throwing money down the tubes, but I do like my Microsoft. Nothing in clothing. Mail. Our mail is sent to our grandson and his wife in Nevada. We domicile out of Nevada, and then they forward us what we need, and they send us a couple of packages in June. So that was our total for mail. So our total for the month is $46.75. Our total for the last 12 months is roughly $60,000, and for the 25 months we've been doing this is almost 52. A big thing, if you hadn't watched our videos on lazy days, I mean, I'm not one to whine and complain and stuff. We went in there full well knowing it. They told us the prices when we went in is $10,000 to have some stuff fixed on our slides and our leveling system, but they didn't do what they said. They after I went inspected, they didn't change filters. We opened it up and they hadn't been changed. They didn't grease the chassis, a number of things, seal the roof. They just sold me on a bunch of junk, and then didn't do the work. I paid the money. They tried to make it right, sent a mobile tech to us about 60 miles away, and they sent them twice because they didn't do it right the first time. The mobile tech was great, but that was money thrown in the trash for the most part. And so that's why this number for the last 12 months is so much higher. And then one thing else that I probably ought to point out, here's some stuff that we spend. You can kind of look through this that are extras. Most of this is for the lazy days. I left in some things of lazy days. They replaced our windshield. We needed to do that anyway. There's a couple things that they did. But anyway, lazy days, most of that taken out. Our YouTube channel, we spent about $5,000 on cameras and photograph equipment and iPads and the drone, an iPad for the drone monitor. I took all that out because most people are not going to go buy a drone and spend a couple $1,000s on cameras. So we took out these oceanfront campsites down in Key West, $1,500 for that week. Taken that out. And then we bought new batteries. I made some bad mistakes on our emergency braking system, burned up our brakes a year or two ago. So several things that I've spent that most of you are not going to have. Totals almost $1,000 a month. Total of $22,000. So if you take all those out, it takes you down to here. This is without those extra expenses. This here is what we would spend. You can see $4,000 pretty much across the board and you can see this trend line is it's going up. And part of that going up is because, like I said, I started drawing Social Security in January, and we just started spending a little bit more money just because it was there. But without just taking out lazy days, leaving in all the camera stuff, $48,300 is our average. And taking out, not the things in white, but just the YouTube and the lazy day stuff, $46,000. If you took out these other things, that would take it down a couple more thousand. So just to throw that out there, what we've actually averaged is $51,885. Taking out lazy days, the unfair stuff that they charge us for that we didn't need, $48,000. And taking out YouTube and lazy days, $46,000. And then taking out some of this other stuff is a couple thousand more. It's Amish cooling unit, $1,500 for, and then our car front end was out of a line. We burned through tires about every 6 months there for a while. We spent $2,000 there, so that's $3,500. So that's almost $5,000. You take out these things that you're probably is not going to be your expenses. You're going to be down to $40,000. But you need to remember, you're going to make mistakes, potentially make mistakes too. You got to have an expense number in there. We've got about $560 when all this is said and done. It's about $560 a month with lazy days out. that we do have spent on expenses, changing the oil, buying different upgrades, it's safety plus, and just there's always something that we need to buy. And then you're going to have some kind of hobby. You're going to spend more on going to tourist things or whatever hobby you got. So you got to be careful taking all these things out. But just for an example, looking at our numbers, these are the things that I think most of you are not going to run into. So anyway, that pretty much covers it. That's June. To be honest, I wasn't going to do a June report because it seems like it's just the same thing over and over. And I've said this every couple of months. I've been saying this for the last 6 months. But as I was sitting out here, I was thinking about doing a video on 1,000 Trails. A gentleman walked in and he had recognized our coach and saw me sitting there and saw the camera. Jeff, I forgot his name, I feel bad. It was less than an hour ago. But he just wanted to visit and talk, and he expressed how much he enjoyed seeing them. Now these numbers don't fit anybody but us, but they give everybody an idea what are our neighbors spending, what's it going to cost if you're thinking about doing this lifestyle. So that was encouraging, making me want to do it. And every day I get probably between 2 and 10 emails asking for this expense spreadsheet, where people seen one of our past videos, people writing an email saying how much they appreciate us sharing our numbers and stuff. And those just are good, feel good emails, and they're feel good conversations when somebody stops in. We've had 3 or 4 people stop in here at Pacific City, and if you watch the other video, we had 3 different couples that had emailed us that stopped in, and we had a taco fest with them, and 2 or 3 couples that just walked by, said hi. We had one gentleman, Eric I think his name was, and it's perfect timing. In one of our videos a few months back, commented about how much we enjoyed books, and it was probably spent $10 or $15 on some used paperback books. Well, he sent us an email, said he was going to be camping pretty close to us, and he was an avid reader, and he had a whole bunch of books he would bring by and give us. And we trade the books in at the different 1,000 Trails. That's one big perk is we'll have a dozen or so books, we'll read them, but at each 1,000 Trails we go into their little activity center, and most of them have a library, and we'll exchange books we've read for ones they may have. So thanks, Eric, we really appreciate it, and we've read probably 5 or 6 of those books already. Here at Pacific City, we don't have any TV. We've got a satellite, but where we're parked, I'm not getting it. I could probably work and move the antenna around a little bit and get it, but we just been enjoying reading the books. We don't have internet or TV for a 3-week stay here, and we're not missing it at all. So, but my point is, I decided to go ahead and put this back out. There's so many folks that are thinking about doing this that are looking forward to these numbers, and it gives them an idea of what it might cost them, or at least gives them a starting point to figure out what it might cost them. So if you want a copy of this spreadsheet, it's our 2018 expense, month by month expenses. I'll send you that spreadsheet. Here's my email address. Send me an email and I will reply to your email with a copy. And if you're curious about 1,000 Trails, at the end of the video I'll put a link to the 1,000 Trails. And if you're curious about these campgrounds, I'll put a link to a video at the end here, and you can see where all these campgrounds are located. And if you want, I will send you the data files so you can upload all these locations into your Google Maps. It makes it a whole lot easier to do your route planning with these maps, or at least for us it does. Our oldest son is a Baptist minister up in Kelso, Washington, and he's got 5 kids. Him and his wife Lisa have 5 kids, and they're coming down Thursday the 4th to spend a couple of days with us. And so we have 1 or 2 more days of nice, quiet, peaceful camping, and then we're going to have a campground full of kids and campfires and barbecues, and just a good time for a couple of days. So hopefully, I want to get this done and put out before that all starts. We're looking forward to, we haven't seen them in a couple of years, so we're looking forward to getting to visit with them. and hopefully you get to meet them in one of our videos. But until then, keep the wheels rolling, stay safe. We'll see you at the next exit. Bye-bye, folks.